That is irrefutable, and anyone who debates that is not looking at these very succinct and clear numbers.
Gold has really never had any competition for thousands of years. Now it has a serious competitor.
The U.S. government just printed another $1.9 trillion stimulus on top of the $4 trillion stimulus last year, and yet gold is flat year on year. What's going on?
Yeah, a lot of stuff is going on. First, we have, people throw out trillion here, trillion there. You got to really understand how big a trillion is. Think about it. Do you know how long a trillion seconds ago were? Is back to 30,000 BC. So if you were around 30,000 BC, so if you're talking trillion, this is how big a trillion is. It's incomprehensibly big. Why hasn't gold responded? I don't know, but it really should be. Bitcoin has responded a lot, hugely. As we record this, Bitcoin is up more than 10 times, way more than 10 times. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but it's up more than 10 times since a year ago when all of this even more money printing started. So it looks like a lot of that store of value demand has been diverted to Bitcoin. I mean, look at Bitcoin's market cap change in over a year. That's a lot of store of value demand that might have otherwise gone to gold. So I think Bitcoin is a part of the equation.
And one of the drawbacks of gold, of course, is that it's not really that portable.
Well, I don't try to do it because I've heard too many horror stories of crossing borders with gold, even small amounts. So I personally don't do it. Bitcoin, how do you know somebody has Bitcoin? They just can memorize 12 words. And if you can memorize 12 words, you can store billions of dollars worth of value. So there's no comparison there.
Yeah, the fact is that Bitcoin is kind of taking market away from gold. It's taking market away from fiat money. It also takes market away from the so-called altcoins. And I guess the second biggest coin, or one of the biggest altcoins out there, would be Ethereum, right? We don't usually talk about altcoins, but this piece was pretty compelling. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, a lot of people who are new to the space, they lump or don't know about this space. They lump Bitcoin in with Ethereum and these altcoins. But the reality is they're not even in the same universe. It's completely inappropriate to lump them in. So I don't think anybody is looking at Ethereum as a store of value. Anybody serious is looking at Ethereum as a store of value. So what I did in this piece is I just took a deep dive on it and looked at what is it? What really is it? And what attributes does it have? And compared them to Bitcoin. In short, Ethereum is not immutable. It can be censored. It has a flexible, arbitrary monetary policy that is hard to audit and is controlled by developers who prefer inflation. It has its network is centralized. Its network infrastructure is centralized. So it's not decentralized in the same way as Bitcoin is. It has an unclear use case. Bitcoin has a crystal clear use case. It's a hard money monetary system that is accessible to anybody and controlled by nobody. But what real world it works? Bitcoin works in the real world, and it solves probably mankind's biggest problem, which is storing and exchanging value. That's what Bitcoin solves. What does Ethereum solve? As far as I can tell, I haven't seen anything built on Ethereum that has added any kind of economic value or solved any kind of real world problem. Now, the thing with Ethereum that is problematic with this is its ownership centralization. The ownership of Ethereum has been and always is and always has been centralized into this group of people who participated in the pre-mine. And to this day, the pre-mine, I think it exists as it is to the current supply of Ethereum, is over 60% still to this day. But there's another problem with pre-mines, is that they're effectively offerings of unregistered securities, and that tends to get the attention of government agencies.
Now, with gold, the central banks of the world have all the pre-mine, you could say. They own most of the gold, regulate the paper markets on which the price is controlled. And, gold in a lot of ways is another altcoin at this point. It's got so many drawbacks, which were not obvious because until Bitcoin came around, people didn't really focus on the fact that, hey, you know what? Gold is actually a horrible store of value and a medium of exchange. As a medium of exchange, it's quite awful. As a store of value, it's not as bad as cowrie shells or storing old telephone books. But, compared to Bitcoin, it's really quite falls short. Casey's big on gold. Is he totally gonna switch over to Bitcoin entirely now, or is Casey still stuck on gold, Nick?
Well, the thing is that what I'm interested in is money. What has the best monetary properties? I'm not particularly wedded to anything. I want something that has the best monetary properties, and I want to look at that with open eyes and analyze that. I'm not writing off gold completely, but you're right. Going down the list of all the attributes of money, and money is not that hard to understand. Money is just something that stores and exchanges value. That's all it is. It's not complicated. So look at the attributes of gold and Bitcoin and analyze them on its ability to store and exchange value. Now, most people can't wrap their minds around this because gold has really never had any competition for thousands of years of human history. Now it has a serious competitor that could dethrone it. And the most important attribute of gold is, look at the history of money. The history of money is the hardest money wins. Bitcoin is now harder than gold. It's better at gold than gold. And what I mean by hardness is resistance to inflation. A lot of people think hardness is something tangible. It has to be a metal. It has to be something physical. That's not what hardness means. Hardness means hard to produce. So, in other words, resistant to inflation. And why was gold money always? It's because gold was the one commodity that was most resistant to inflation. That's what made it a good money. Bitcoin, and how do you measure hardness? You measure hardness with the stock to flow ratio. And that is what measures hardness. And Bitcoin now is harder than gold, according to the stock to flow ratio. So in that category, gold's most important attribute, Bitcoin, it beats it.